Claire, when you hear about bullying, what comes to your mind?
Well,
Were you bullied in school?
no, that was never tolerated in my school in those days. You know, it's just becoming rampant these days, and I think it's part of the collapse of the social fabric, that we're dealing with. So in our days, well, I don't know about you, but it wasn't common really.
Yeah, it wasn't common because there was no social media to report it then.
Probably.
Probably, yes. Anyway, in the past decade or two, bullying in Nigeria's schools has been a serious issue. It leaves victims scared with long-lasting emotional and psychological trauma.
Indeed, absolutely. And we have recorded quite a number of these incidents. And of course, most of them shocked Nigerians and indeed the world. And of course, if you recall the case of Sylvester Oromoni, who was killed in Dowen College, Lagos, the death of Karen, another student in Premier Academy here in Abuja.
You're right, Claire. And let me also mention the abuse of Don Davis in Deeper Life High School, Uyo, a sodomized 11-year-old student at Special School Kuje, Abuja, a defiled 6-year-old pupil at Ungomari Costain Islamic School, Maiduguri, and Yaya Nuhu Aliyu of GSS Kwali, Abuja, who was flogged to death.
So many other incidents of bullying in our schools force government to take decisive steps to address the problem once and for all. Now, one of them is what we shall be discussing this morning, and that is the National Anti-Bullying Policy. A committee has been set up to ensure implementation of this policy.
Yes, this policy indicates the ministry's zero-tolerance stance on bullying and attempt to protect students across all Nigerian schools.
So I'm sure the question you will be asking is, how has the national anti-bullying policy progressed so far? We'll be having, of course, as always, on Good Morning Nigeria, experts who will be, and stakeholders, I should also add, who will be speaking to this issue. They will join us here live, of course, when that time comes. We would also take a look at another topic which is equally very important. That's the community health practitioners in the country. They would also be here to, of course, give us details of how they are, regulating and, of course, practicing their trade, in different parts of the community. So,
You didn't introduce yourself.
yes, I left that for you. Men first. I give you the honor to.
No, women first.
Ladies first. Trying to be a gentleman that you are, of course. I must say, Demola is a gentleman. I am Claire Adelabu Abdul-Razak, and I'm glad to be here once again to share this morning with you. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Ademola Ade. Welcome to the program, Newspaper Review with Chukudi Okoli Ugbaja. We'll get to you shortly.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and it's live on the network service. Newspaper Review is next.
Thanks for staying with us. Our newspaper reviewer is here. Chooks the boy.
Hello, Demola.
Good morning.
You're so happy from the thriller you saw yesterday. You gave me Chooks the boy willingly. It didn't have to be cool. That's told of you. Claire.
Yeah,
the band boy is doing well this morning, isn't it?
Yes,
Isn't it?
and unfortunately, I couldn't watch yesterday.
You didn't see the match?
I didn't see the match.
It was the final before the final.
That was football.
What are you talking about,
But I knew that Inter would hold on.
Yeah.
Yes, I knew that. Come what may, Inter would.
You get one man with the college Pio Loye when we were in secondary school. He says experience past academics.
You can't beat. You see, you can't. You can't beat experience. You can't.
You
beat
can't.
experience.
No certification beats experience. We have to build that into how we think in this country.
That's why that proverb, the experience is the best teacher. It's always.
It was great.
Depends on the kind of experience.
It is never a cliche. It will never
experience is experience.
Depends on the kind of experience you're talking about.
I beg,
please, I agree with you. Let's start with blueprint. I'm sorry. Blueprint says State of the Nation. Senate settles for 2-day National Security Summit. Names 19-man panel to oversight rivers. Army raises the alarm over influx of cattle into plateau. And IAR to Nigerians embrace teller maize, address hunger. Just a little below the nameplate, Passenger Abdul Salami Aye for Sude Lamido's book launch. Under 20 AFCON care on firing line as Flying Eagles aspire to celebrate. I'll take that again. Under 20 AFCON, Kenya on firing line as Flying Eagles aspire to celebrate, hopefully, and we put our hands crossed for them. And then just below the picture story, you have Delta Edo speakers, 25 others, 6 reps defect to APC. Of course, we will keep hearing the defections around this time. But let's me quickly again take on the People's Daily. That's away from Blueprint. People's Daily has a lot, but it leads with reps to Tinubu, that's President Tinubu, strengthen security operations across Nigeria. Tinubu presents 1.78 trillion naira FCT budget to NAS. It's also trending just below the nameplate. Other stories are also trading just at the foot of the paper. Let me just go below the nameplate. We've tackled core causes of insecurity in the Northeast. That's the NEDC, Northeast Development Commission. All right, I think I'll stop here. Allow Demola, the gentleman, who will be beaten tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he has shifted from being a Chelsea fan to being a PSG fan, all because it's against Arsenal.
Okay, I have the business NG newspaper with me, and just above that nameplate, Nigeria should direct credit towards infrastructure, not politics. Dr. Adedipe. That details of that story is on page 14. Foreign investors flood NGX with 700 billion naira as domestic participation falls. Details on page 2. Tinubu's foreign goods ban hailed as economic boost. Details of that story can also be found on page 2. Senate convened security summit amid insecurity. Details on page 2. Investors gain 1.04 trillion as NGS surges on ETI, Nestle MTN rally. Then we have NIPOs to go cashless from July 1st, 2025. Details of that story can also be found on page 2. Well, Chooks, it's over to you.
Yes. They are talking about Delta Edo speakers, 25 others defect to APC. I thought the Delta people said that they defected with all the structures, so why are they making the headlines again? They've already all left into at least that's the impression. You know, my friend Ifejika and Charles and Diago, that's the impression they gave us. Anyway, we wish them luck. If it's not against the law, please don't question the other man for doing it, you know. Senate settles for 2-day National Security Summit. Demola Claire, this really is necessary.
It is.
The upsurge in insurgency, Boko Haram resurgence, should worry you and me, should worry every Nigerian who likes peace and who likes continuation of normality within the polity.
Okay, and I asked, I'll ask, this summit, what does it seek
To address,
to
right?
address
Yes.
that is not out there in the public? The issues of insecurity. You have researchers, you have security experts, who have, narrowed down the security challenges in different parts of the country, because each security is, peculiar to the particular zone. Insecurity is particular to the zone. And we have so many documents detailing causes, findings and recommendations on what can be done. These findings and recommendations can be taken, looked at it, and then you can get experts to review the findings and the recommendations, and they implement. Summit. Well, I really don't know.
No, it's okay. It's
Yes.
okay.
There's nothing wrong with this summit.
Your
actually.
concern
Yes.
is natural. Your concern is to be expected, because it's been a lot of action
Discuss.
without real movement. That's the point you're seeing it from. But my people say, if waiting person they kill never die, then they're not they put them for pocket. So the jaw has to continue. The summit is still necessary. You don't stop talking about it because you think that desired action has not taken place.
No,
what we're interested in is make it happen this time around. Let it not just be a routine gathering. Nigeria needs summits. If you ask me, APC boycotted 2014 under Jonathan. Now APC has to give us a national summit that helps reconcile Nigerians. We need it. Don't run away from it. Don't subject it to politics and all that. So summits are not bad. But Claire
Listen.
is
He
saying,
says, please go ahead.
yeah, Claire is saying that we have to see action and not just words. The talk shop is getting too much without us advancing further on that terrain of a good livelihood.
Listen, just a bit from the report. It says, following the incessant insecurity rocking major parts of the country, Nigerian Senate on Tuesday adopted a motion to convoke a two-day security summit to prefer solution to the challenges.
Yes.
To prefer solutions to the challenges. Now, what are the challenges? They named some here: banditry, kidnappings, terrorism, pressure arising across the country, as well as other violent crimes.
Run of the mill.
I mean,
Yeah. And of course, funds are going to go into organizing that summit.
precisely.
And,
I know Dr. Kabiru Adamu. He's been on this show several times. He's talked about documents, he's talked about researches, he's talked about things that have been done and presented and actions have not been taken.
Yes.
So these are valid documents that have, studied the different security challenges in different parts of the country and have, narrowed down solutions or recommendations that can be adopted.
Whatever
Anyway,
happens, we must not give the impression that these people are winning. We must always put our good foot forward to ensure that we are one step or 7 steps ahead of them, because it affects the national psyche. Our security forces must not be seen to be fighting a losing battle. So whatever needs to be thrown into the works, make it happen. Make it happen.
And just as well, that the NEDC is saying we've tackled core causes of insecurity in Northeast. I was searching through to see if I could find details of that, of what they have.
The core causes
exactly.
that have been. It's okay. It's okay. But I hope these are not indications of helplessness, because that would not augur well for any of us. Let it not be seen that they are winning and we are losing. Never ever. It will not happen.
Okay, that's. I think I've seen.
Okay.
I've seen the report now. Okay, with the NEDC, hundreds of communities destroyed by the Boko Haram insurgency have been successfully reconstructed or rehabilitated, including roads, bridges, markets, and houses. That's the NEDC's managing director, Mohammed Goni Alkali, was reported to have said.
Yes.
He said, we have also reintegrated over 1 million of displaced persons to their communities.
That means that the menace has been curbed. Because if we are rehabilitating and they are not destroying over, it means we've reclaimed territory or space. So let us not sound like the cup is half empty of water all the time. Let us also see that it is half full of water. Perspectives.
Okay. All right.
So in the region of optics and how you want to express. You know, there's this crop variety is Teller maize being recommended. It's you know, planting time. Demola does not have a garden. He is in Band A territory. I wish you luck. We are selling to you this year. You know, so it's going to help cushion the effects of hunger, and of course higher yield that could lead to, you know, more better production by farmers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chooks. Thank you.
He doesn't like listening to farmers.
Thank you.
Can you allow me to thank Chukwudi?
Hungry go, why are you?
No, because
I
no,
say
you know
hungry
why I
go,
will
why
not
are
allow
you?
you? Because the two of you, you belong to the same band. So,
Which one, Band A or Band B?
Band Z.
No. All right, let's go on a short break. We'll be right back.
So, thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. To set the tone for our first conversation this morning on national anti-bullying policy, let's listen to this background report by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Bullying is an unwanted aggressive behavior, usually between school-aged children or teens. The behavior makes the target uncomfortable. It is the repetitive, intentional hurting of one person or group by another person or group, where the relationship involves an imbalance of power. One major target of bullying is that it seeks to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone perceived as vulnerable. Students who are bullied often feel threatened and powerless. Verbal bullying includes name-calling, making fun or making jokes at another person's expense, unwelcome teasing, spreading secrets someone disclosed in confidence, amongst others, while physical bullying, pushing, shoving, pinching, hitting, spitting, damaging property, vandalizing locker or school supplies, amongst others. In Nigeria, bullying is said to affect up to 85% of in-school adolescents, representing a potentially serious threat to healthy adolescent development. Over the years, there have been reported cases of bullying in both public and private schools in Nigeria, with its attendance implications. This explains why the federal government is taking major steps to quell the menace in Nigerian schools. As part of efforts to ensure behavioral uniformity in public and private schools across the country, the government launched the National Policy on Anti-Bullying in Nigerian Schools, inaugurating a committee to implement the policy. The government maintained that this initiative would ensure sanity in both public and private schools across the country. Now, the question is, will this put a total end to the incessant bullying in the country, especially the Nigerian schools? Also, what other stricter measures can be put in place to quell the menace? Our guests will be talking about this and more on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria now.
All right, thank you very much, Oyeyemi Ajayi, for the background report. And we have our guest. Let me quickly introduce Dr. Philip Hayab. He's an educationist and peace and conflict analyst, of course, with the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. He's with us here live in the studio. Thank you, as always, Doctor, for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Also here with us is Mrs. Olushola Bankole, Director of the Bankies Private School here in Abuja. We're glad to have you, madam, with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. And good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning to you, madam. Joining us via Zoom from Lagos is Chief Adeolu Ogunbanjo. He's the Deputy National President, National Parents Teachers Association of Nigeria, NATAN. Dr. Ogunbanjo, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, thank you. Now, let's kickstart our conversation this morning, Dr. Haya. Let's tell us what constitutes bullying And how prevalent is it in our schools these days? When you say bullying, what are we talking about?
Okay, thank you. Bullying as a term doesn't have one definition. And reading through the drafted national policy on anti-bullying in schools in Nigeria, I could see that there were a few discrepancies. For instance, we were talking about an act of intimidation repeated. So the idea of the word repeated is very key, but bullying can be a once shot, and the victim or the survivor now could be affected. So anything or any act done by particularly someone in higher position, because there's always a question of power play. Someone who is either physically stronger than the other student, they could be in the same class. So if any action is taken to intimidate, coerce, or to make that person be afraid and submit to whosoever that has that power imbalance at that time, the question of imbalance, whosoever the power is in their hands, that constitutes bullying. One of the challenges is that it comes with a lot of disorders. It brings about depression. In fact, for some learners who are not rooted in the love for education, it might become a reason why they could become dropouts. Some scholars have argued that the idea of bullying in schools, though we're looking at it as if it's a recent thing, but from what I heard, even when I was a child in the village, so many years ago, maybe 30-something, bullying was prevalent, particularly in boarding schools.
I was telling
yes, so the fact that we're talking about it now, it's something that you wonder, what is it? People will ask you to go and fetch water. And by chance, I attended a boarding school, at least from SS1 to 3, which we didn't have pipe-borne water. Sometimes we actually will enter the well. I knew seniors who would ask juniors who barely have the energy to enter this well, even for themselves, to go in. So they are coercing them, they are intimidating them, and sometimes you even give up your meal just to be free. So bullying comes in different shades, but I would say that in a nutshell, it is any act of violence which intimidates, which coerces, and causes the other person who is then the victim to succumb or to resist. In most cases, it's not common to be able to resist because the person who is ahead of you is likely the person to initiate this act of bullying.
Okay.
All right, Doug, thank you. Before we come back to the studio, I'd like to take Chief Adeolu Ogubanjo, who is the Deputy National President, National Parent Teacher Association of Nigeria. Chief Ogubanjo, in those days, I'll share it with my colleague Dimola, that in those days we used to tease, our friends of being a bully, and I mean, it was just a tease, and we'll just laugh it off. I'm just wondering, what has changed in our society today that makes such a tease or teasing now cross the line? And I'm just wondering how we can differentiate between a harmless tease or harmless banter, from a harmful behavior, which we now term as bullying.
Thank you very much. I must add to what the other speaker did say earlier about bullying. For me as a parent, bullying is what I can describe as mild terrorism, because in a way, when you are trying to intimidate, you have to sort of have a way to lord yourself over that person, thereby intimidating the person. So, and in trying to lord yourself, over anybody, it is a mild form of terrorism as far as I'm concerned. So bullying in every aspect must be condemned. Beyond that now is the question about teasing. When you tease, you are, genuinely, you just are sort of joking, because teasing is like you are joking with a person. But when it now crosses the border of now trying to use it to intimidate that person, or trying to load your tease, in quote, over the other person, it now becomes bullying. So in our days, you did say earlier that teasing was just joke. It's a joke, so to say. However, these days, social media and content creators have turned teasing, for instance, into pranks. And prank can actually be messy sometimes. Pranking, can actually be messy sometimes. So I don't know how we got to, this level, and a situation where we now, advance it to pranking rather than teasing in a mild form. For me, I would say that teasing these days should also be discouraged. Go straight to the point, do whatever you want to do, and then, you are good to go.
Thank you very much, Chief Ogunbanjo, for your perspective there. We just want to remind our viewers that you have the opportunity to also discuss this issue with us by sending us SMS messages on our number, which is displayed on your screen there. You can give us questions, you can send questions or suggestions on the topic that we are discussing, this anti-bullying issue. So let's come back to Mrs. Bankole. Tell us, how prevalent is this in schools? Your perspective, and how prevalent is it in school? And what actually is the difference between bullying and other forms of aggression?
All right. I like that the question was asked, the last, question asked, how do we differentiate between bullying and teasing? The society is evolving, and definitely is prevalent. And particularly that so many people, and sometimes, a lot of times, parents are also not able to differentiate. Because I remember when the safeguarding policy came up and we were trying to ensure implementation across our schools, we realized that, two children in the nursery class are joking or are playing, and one tickle the other. It gets some parents, some parents were so touchy at that time. Yeah. Oh, what happened in school today? Who touched you? Who smiled in a particular way that you don't like? And then they will come, it was becoming. So we actually sincerely need to find a way to differentiate. Like my colleague had mentioned, there is aggression, there is intimidation intended, there is also manipulation intended. Maybe someone who is more powerful, or who is who just have maybe more strength or something, trying to pull down the other. If that is not what the intention is, and just two young people, just making fun among themselves, we need to be careful. But if we had all of the ones that are not differentiated into it, it's a lot. But to be candid, when we talk about the one that is involving violence, it's sort of becoming the norm, even among the young people. Even when they think they are teasing each other. So we need to actually check it. Like in schools, we try to, even the person who is being bullied may say, no, nothing, we're playing. We need to help the children to even know that, no, that is crossing the line.
That's why I asked for a clear differentiation, because the policy, the new anti-bullying policy, outlines behavior different type of behaviors that are intended to harm, then, assume you have a friend, a playful friend, and come and say, oh, stop, you bully, you bully, and all that. So we must be able to differentiate between that harmless banter, where your friend, tickles you, and you are now referring to the person as, oh, you're a bully. And then the one that has an intent to harm. Like Chief said, to a great extent, I agree with him, because terrorism, has the intention of breaking people's spirits, instigating fear and intimidating you. And then when a child tells you, Mommy, I can't go to school today, and you say, why? I said, out of compulsion, you get him to tell you, okay, somebody in school is doing this. That is a kind of psychological terrorism. Yeah. So I quite agree. But we must be able to differentiate these and then begin to find out how this policy will be able to address those issues clearly. I don't know, maybe, yes.
So interestingly, my doctoral study was in African languages, and therefore I studied humor, teasing, and there is a boundary. Mrs. Bankole has brought out the key word, intention. So when it is teasing, the intention, so that is where we talk about context. I did sociolinguistics. So in sociolinguistics, discourse analysis, we say words don't have meaning in themselves. It is the context that the words come from that becomes the meaning. That's why a friend can actually say, you bastard, to a friend. And the word does not mean that the person was a bastard. But if another person comes out of that context and say, hey, you bastard, definitely it is bastard for, that is the, what we, bastard as to the semantic meaning that somebody doesn't have a parent. So it is that ground. It is the context, it is the intent that is our concern. When it is teasing, the two persons that are teasing must be at par. Nobody has any power imbalance. So the question of power imbalance is where the teasing becomes a problem. I attended school at the time. I went to primary school in 1981. And I remember at that time I was trying to say to somebody, we came back home 1979, and I said 1999. I remember some of the guys in my community would call me 1999, and there was no way that they intended to play. They intended to pull me down. The good thing is that all of them, nobody was able to get even a degree. I'm the one who was able to make it. So my 1999 maybe was a projection of what was going to be in the future. So the intent of the speaker, like what we call the position that the person takes, is where the problem is. So in bullying, the position is to intimidate, to disempower you. And that's why bullying would always have this aspect. If you tell anyone, something will happen. But in teasing, there is no way you'll be teasing your friend and say, even when you say, if you tell anyone, I will say I didn't say it. It will still be from an African context on the platter of play. That's why we can even joke when we go for funerals. You know, in Africa it is allowed. In some cultures it is not allowed. But which funeral do you joke? It has to be the funeral of an elderly person. So context is the issue. And so when we deal with the context, like the president of the PTA said, the question of terrorism as mild terrorism, with all fairness, there is evidence that bullies in school can actually be easily radicalized. Yes, because there's a background that is their intention in this life is to always put the other person down.
You know, and these bullies, these bullies are usually, well, young, peer groups, mates. So I'm just wondering, I asked a question earlier on, what has changed in our society today? Yes.
Like I said, things are evolving. There is social media now, the kind of content that children are exposed to on TV, the kind of movies they watch, the kind of games they play have also changed. You know, so there are some, I'm trying to use a word, you know, there are some hard activities that some of them seem to be used to. We need to discourage that, to be candid. And I think the main people, the main stakeholders...
Is that what they watch on TV?
Macho, you know, those...
you know, like the games they play. For instance, some of them, there are a lot of children today that like war games.
Yes.
Games where you kill somebody, where you have to destroy something. You break this, you send fire to
horror
this,
movies.
and all of that. You know, I think those are part of the things that are creating this. You know, when I mention intent, I also feel that it is important, you know, that the key stakeholder are those maybe the adults around, or maybe the person who is reported to, like in a school system. I know this policy is addressed to schools mainly. The adults, you know, the significant person who is in charge of the anti-bullying policy in the school should be someone who can detach from sentiment to be able to address different issues. Oh, this is the context. Even sometimes when both of them agree, we need to caution children to be careful the kind of words they use that are not pleasant. Because if your friend agrees, when you get used to it, you can use it on another person and it will mean something else. So why don't you just let it be? Let not use such terrible words that can be terrorizing, that can be humiliating for the general mind and all of that. So it's important that we can look at things from its context, but at the same time, I think it is critical that parents, teachers, we train children, young persons, to avoid harmful activities.
You know, we keep blaming social media. Demola said in his days, you didn't have access to social media in the days. He also said so. That bullying was also rampant. I didn't experience.
It was, but then it's because
it goes back to the home.
It was not reported then because there was no social media.
So it goes back to the home. So it's not really social media that is, I don't know if, yes, please.
The home, I read one report yesterday when I got the invite, and there are actually studies proving that children who come from very turbulent homes are likely to be bullies. Yeah, because the activities, if the parents will argue, throw things at each other, that is the mom and the father, the chances are that these children might pick up this character and everywhere, because people who fight and throw things, there's always a question of power imbalance that brings about this kind of dispute. Now, so when children are brought up from this kind of terrain, the chances are that when they get out there, they would want to replicate this and become the macho person, the Superman, Spider-Man. So yes, the children of today have more access to content that can shape their minds even beyond what the parents will know. So some of these children today, yes, the home has a function, but then also these children are exposed to more data, more resources than you can ever imagine, to the point that they can form a worldview which is completely in contradiction with the kind of home that they were raised because of what they are exposed to. Some parents don't even bother about what the children watch. But with all fairness, there are evidences showing that once a child thinks about carrying a gun, let's say in the other part of the world, there must be a gun in the home. If the gun is not there, where would the child get the gun from? So the home has a function to play. And I have, as a teacher, I've discovered that once bullying is reported, parents who come to defend their children in school, if my child is reported to have bullied a child and the school system says he should go, I will gladly support the school so that the child goes. I might even send the child to the village, maybe spend a year to learn. There is no way that as a
parent... What if he gets to the village and bully the people?
No, he would. You know, the village system, he's going to find a strange thing. So maybe he will calm down, and the fact that he's removed from his environment, the chances are there. That's why schools that are stringent, that says if you do A, we will do B. The bullying in such schools are always very limited. But schools that the management is not firm, that the children know that they can play around and do things and get away. I tell you, you get the report and somebody goes to get a report and that it goes.
Okay. All right, let's bring in Chief Ogumbanjo back into the discussion now. We're still talking about this issue of bullying, and how can someone show evidence of bullying, and what should parents and loved ones look out for signs of bullying, maybe in a child?
Thank you very much. I must say that I quite agree with some of your discussions, but I must say that we parents are guilty in a lot of ways. For instance, there was a situation at Queen's College, Lagos. The child was reprimanded, the girl was reprimanded, for one bad behavior or the other. And then the parent now came to school fighting the school. I mean, this was something to do with hairdo, or, what style of hair and all that. And then I think the school authorities corrected it. And then she came and it became something else. Unfortunately, it got to the Minister of Education, and again, modernization has come to play again. You shouldn't have a stroke, give any child any stroke of cane and all that. In our days, there was discipline. Discipline is, not there anymore. If you dare touch a child, the teacher is in trouble. Beyond that now is the part I must say that social media has contributed a lot. Those days when we were playing around, we used to watch the Lone Ranger films and all that. Those days, Bonanza and stuff, we were playing and doing the shooting game, but we were using our hands, to, play around at that time. But today, people now use their daddy's guns and things and calling it play. Unfortunately, they shoot themselves. So I think we parents do have a lot to do. We have to supervise our children. We do not have time, I'm sorry to say this, I'm a parent, for our children, even to monitor whatever they do in school. Very few parents, maybe 20-25% of parents, what did you do at school today, and all that, what happened, like one of your contributors in the studio said, asking the child, what have you done today at school? Even if it's a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation between you and your children, it goes a long way. So then you will now know whether, this has happened, that is, one Femi or Bala has talked to me this way and that way. And then you can now say, look, tell teacher that you've done this. You told me this, but please, one Bala, not to do that again, or one Femi, or one Chukwudi. So, for me, a lot, should be done by parents. Also teachers, to, again, keep a tab, an eye on the children, the students at school, so that whatever the child is doing wrongly can be corrected from home. Or if they now notice one or two things that is wrong, write a note. My teacher in those days when we were in primary school, I went to children's home school in Ibadan. The moment something happens, they write a note, give it to the child, give it to the father or mother, and it will be corrected. So we need to do more. Parents, particularly, 80% of the job, is on us parents.
All right, Chief, I still stay with you a little while. I'm just, my mind is just going here and there now. might it be possible that the structure of the school environment and of course the hierarchical nature of the school system in terms of seniority and all that could also trigger this harmful behavior among students? And because if you look at the data or statistics that we have, it appears that bullying is probably much more in private run schools than in public settings, because in public settings you have elite, or should I say adults, who can monitor these children. But in private school it's more of a closed system, and they have this very rigid seniority structure.
Thank you. In our days, again, I went to Motisco College in Abuja, boarding school. We had, you must have, well, I don't know whether they still do it now. A senior, you are either fetching water to, or doing this or doing that. That is a form of discipline, Oh, you go and do this, go and fetch water for me, and stuff like that. In my days, we used to do that in school. But it must have a limit. And it wasn't abused. It's only when you now want to punish, that is when the teacher, the housemistress or housemaster will now take over. This boy didn't fetch my water today, and then the housemaster takes over the discipline. They may say, kneel down there. In fact, it was a common, kneel down there. It was a common thing then. And that was it. Seniors can punish, in quotes, their juniors at that time. But that is not bullying. It was a situation where we met it, you must serve a senior in your junior days. And then by the time you also now get, I remember when I read class 1 to 5. When we get to class 3 in secondary school, we call it intermediate class.
Okay,
no.
Chief Okubanjo, okay, I understand what you are saying, because I remember that in my school, we used to have something like that. We call it, it's like having a mentor. You understand? You have somebody in Form 5, and you see that person as your school father, school mother, and they protect you against anybody that wants to bully you. Actually, that's what happens.
That's what it should be.
No, that's what actually happened in my days. When you're in Form 1, Form 2, you have like school fathers, school mothers. School fathers, school mothers, they are like your mentor. They protect you, they shield you from anybody that wants to abuse you in one way or the other. But I don't think that exists now. Would you want to say something?
To say something to somehow counter what you said, ma'am. And that is that it's prevalent in private schools. I don't think it
appears, because if you look at, I put my question in context. I said if you look at the data that we have rolled out, and that the data out there, yes,
because in private schools, reports are more often because parents will come to fight. I paid fees. In fact, there are so many more happening in public schools. They are not reported. Yes. In fact, the thing we see is that a lot of times in public schools, the teacher don't really care that much because the children are so many, and then the excuse of how many do I handle and all of that is there. So the truth is, I'm always concerned about this dichotomy, private schools and public schools. The truth is, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I don't even want to say it's more somewhere. The reason private schools are in the eye of the storm is because the issues are more reported. And then the policies. There are a number of private schools that will want to implement policies.
The kids are also well exposed in public schools.
Yes.
So they can report it.
So to add to what she said, the public schools, incidentally, data may show that more people who come from less privileged homes are in that school.
Yeah.
The problem with the private schools, would be these parents who have money, who do not train their children well.
Absolutely.
I've traveled the few opportunities I've had in the world. When I go to an airport and there is a nuisance of kids, they are likely going to come from Nigeria. I've seen that at Heathrow. I've seen that at Frankfurt. I've seen that everywhere that I've had the privilege of going. Because some of us, we feel, okay, because we can afford life, our children can do whatever they want to do. That is where these people who operate private schools suffer with them, because these kids are coming from homes and they feel their parents are important. So it goes back to what the PTA chair said. If parents will be firm, my child cannot commit an offense because I can afford to pay fees. He or she will not get my support. If all parents would be like that, we would reduce children misdemeanors to the barest minimum. But like she said, this is a fact. In the public schools, there's a likelihood there is no even the opportunity to report.
Okay.
The teachers are overwhelmed. Teachers are hardly ever incentivized. They are not motivated to do this work like this is the work I have to do. But in the private schools, the teachers are paid. So the money is in some private schools, not all private schools. It's good enough that some of these teachers will do extra work in order to get to remain in the school. But if it is bullying is everywhere. Mission schools, private schools, everywhere.
Okay, bullying is everywhere. Okay, we have these reactions from some of our viewers here. The first one said, "Good morning, Nigerians. I am Usman Goni, New Busa, Niger State. I just want to strongly advise that the Nigerian government should declare bullying as an offense. My children stopped going to school, which is nearby my residence, because of bullying."
Wow.
Then this one says, "Good morning to everyone in the studio. The national anti-bullying policy in Nigeria is a welcome development, and at the right time. The menace of this bullying in schools, government and private institutions, including homes and markets in Nigeria, is alarming. I hope and pray that government will do the needful so that serious punishment will be meted on violators." Thank you, from Alaji Garko Karusite, Abuja. And this one says, "Good morning, Nigerians. One of the causes of bullying these days are mainly caused by the family system, in which the parents neglect their duties, all in getting out to find daily needs. Another is the social content we are exposed to." This from Ilori, that's Josman from Ilori, Kwara State. And this, good morning, presenters. Thank you. This topic is insightful. Bullying to me is simply trying to coerce or intimidate another who one seems to be lesser in actions. These things stem from kids' exposure from their home setting. Most kids that grew up from violent homes tend to either challenge others and even become more depressed, thereby giving other room to tease or bully them. Another huge factor is the social media, and on like that. This, so I don't know.
All right,
Claire, you have some.
Yes,
there.
just to also, let you know that you can reach us also on our YouTube channel, YouTube at NTA News 24 Hub 2. YouTube channel at NTA News 24 Hub 2, and on Facebook at NTA News 24 Hub. Facebook at NTA News 24 Hub. Okay, let me just take out this one. This one is from Engineer Omoyang from Jos, and it says, "The National Anti-Bullying Policy, it's a welcome development. So, as so many students have forfeited their studies for fear of constant bullying in schools." Engineer Omoyang from Jos. We thank you once again. Please follow us on Facebook at NTA News 24 Hub, or YouTube at NTA News 24 Hub 2. Let me again, I don't know if we have Chief Ogubanjo back with us. Chief Ogubanjo, are you back with us? Okay. As the Deputy National President of NAPTAN, National Parent Teacher Association of Nigeria, I'm sure you probably, have a kind of measure put in place to address, this issue? Or can you give us your experience, if any at all? Can you share your experience with us?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, let me commend the government on this, on the introduction of this policy. I must say that it's a welcome development, and I think it will be passed into law. I hope it won't go through the serious, because there will be some people who may not want this bill go through. I can assure you, as good as it is, there may be some people who won't want it to be passed into law. But we hope they will, they will not succeed. This bill will definitely go a long way in correcting a lot of anomalies in our schools. Yes, each time, for instance, at the Queen's College incident that I mentioned, we were there, or we had to, at least we saw the principal and all that, who was, then, was being accused for not supervising well. We had to tell the principal, please, we are with you. We understand that there was some issues in this place, but please take it easy. Everything will soon be over. Unfortunately, the parent, went gaga, and we couldn't get to see the parent. Was so mad that he said, he threw us to the dustbin and said, we are nonsense and all that. From what she said, it was even the mother. So in a way, when some of these things happen, we try to intervene, but there's little we can do except there's a policy on ground that we can now work with. Part of it is, for instance, how do we look at discipline in our schools? It's still something that we still have to talk about. Maybe a summit, because discipline is now something that is not touched in schools, because, this parent will harass me.
Yes, I'm sorry to interject, but do you really need a policy, to take action before you can take action? You've already established an act intended to harm another person. Do you need a policy to say before you can even take an action that will provide justice for the victim?
Are you talking about the Child Rights Act? This is still
no. You are talking about a policy. You said there is no policy for you to take an action. I said, do you really need a policy before you can take an action?
You do, because some parents will now challenge you in court. That's the problem. And what will you refer to? That's what I mean. So if, for instance, how do you discipline a child in school? Kneel down there. In our days, you kneel down there and you show remorse. But today, by the time you now tell a student, kneel down there, the teacher is in trouble. So, how do we discipline? How do we, maintain discipline in the schools? These are issues.
Chief, exactly. Yes, Chief, we'll return to you. We seem to be having this signal glitch. We'll return to you. Please just hold your thoughts, because you said that there's no law. I don't agree. No, we have the Child Rights Act. Yes, we have the violence against. Please, please go ahead.
I think what he said is not that he didn't say that there is no law. He said you need a policy to guide whatever action that you are taking. Yeah. You understand?
Yeah, but you already have an act, several.
I can share an experience. Yeah. You see, my child was registered in the school. I trusted the school. I used to go there very often. And I discovered that my child, who was very happy to get to that school, started withdrawing. The first one other time I visited him and he was crying, which was not what I knew him to have done. So I noticed that something was wrong. And then when I made inquiry, I discovered that there was a case of bullying. I petitioned the school because at least as a teacher, I know the rights, the safe school and all that brought together. So I wrote a letter, sent it to the school. It took 1 month, 2 weeks before the school responded to me. What I did simply was I withdrew my child from the school because I didn't want any further thing. So the question of the policy is where the matter is. Yes. If you have a policy, you now say, okay, you refer to this policy AYZ, I think it will go a long way. So we thank them for the policy. But one of the things I do know that the government will not be able to do more, they will not be able to do much like the schools. So the proprietors of schools, the principals of schools, the management of the schools, now this is the time, if they were afraid because there was nothing, they do have a policy which guides them as a guide.
Do you have an idea of the components of the policy?
Yes, I studied the policy, the definition. Yes. So yes, the cases of definition of terms is very key, because if there is no general definition of a term, people will come with their definitions, and then that is where you have issues of disagreement. So yes, this policy defines the term. Who is a bully? Is a person who uses force or power to coerce, intimidate, and that. Who is a bystander? A bystander is a person who stands by and then does not do anything. And then you have active participant, people who intervene to say, no, you cannot do this. That actually defines what I used to do when I was in school. One of the problems is that people are bullied when they're in junior classes, and because they do not have the opportunity to report, when they eventually get to senior classes, they want to, in fact, they call it payback. And sometimes they may go farther than whatever punishment that has happened. So I believe that school proprietors, school administrations, they have the power to stop bullying. I know of a school where the principal came and there was bullying. The first thing she did was, she didn't need a policy per se, but because it's a school belonging to a mission which has power, all she did was she sent the girl home 1 week. By the time another girl repeated a similar offense, she sent her back, she sent her home 2 weeks. So everything came to zero. She created what she calls the concern box. So she created a box in her office. You could, if you have any concerns, you could just write, come as if you're passing by the principal's office, drop it. You don't have to drop your name. You don't have to write your name. Now the principal reads all these concern boxes and talks to the junior students who are more at the, in most cases, at the receiving end. So they write whatever concerns, and she takes, the principal takes a stand. So if they say no phones and you come with a phone, you're going home for 1 week. Until people who run schools get to a point where they are not afraid if a person will withdraw their child from our school, our standard will remain. We're not going anywhere.
Honestly, you know, sometimes these policies are in keeping with international best practices. We have all agreed that, yes, it gives some legal, you know, backing. But like you rightly said, there are certain things you don't have to wait. You take proactive steps like the ones that you've mentioned. Because if we go by the policy, there's the problem of burden of proof.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a major factor. Mrs. Bankole.
All right. Okay, I want to quickly say a few things. The bullying issues that, you know, we keep seeing, sometimes recurrent scenarios. It happened in this school, it happened in that school, it happened in this school. I just want to share some of the things that some of us do. For instance, even the safeguarding policy is so clear. And, you know, we didn't stop at that. You know, one challenge is that so many states in Nigeria still do not see the importance of some of these things. But I want to commend Lagos State that they have a robust policy that some of us actually use to step down or step up what we are doing in our schools. And, you know, for instance, in my school, I have a policy day every term. What do? We pick on one of the policies, because you see, if you are not involving the students themselves, and it's only adults all over the place that we are talking to, it may not go down well. Where we discuss, it could be policy on school uniform, anti-bullying, examination malpractice, examination malpractice and all that, and we discuss it. Okay, give your opinion and all that. It's like getting them involved. And then on the issue of boarding school, senior asking junior to fetch what, I think that is bullying.
It is.
And we should stop it. Discipline, that doesn't do any discipline. There should be general activities that the school as a whole expects students to do. Yes, maybe they can learn skills, how to fetch water and do that as a general thing. I believe that, that is a picture of what we're seeing in Nigeria generally.
So the school fatherism, just like godfatherism.
There is nothing like that. There shouldn't be anything. If we keep encouraging it, the reason there are school mothers and fathers is because there is bullying.
Yes, now
that person is to protect. So if we continue, seniors should actually be those who are, if they are leaders,
they're supposed to be mentors,
supporting the younger ones to come up. Mentors, like you said, mentoring the younger ones. On different areas. Oh, when I came to school, I was teeny, but with time, I gained confidence. And you see, this subject is not that difficult. This is it. That is what being a senior should be about. It shouldn't, even those that are prefects, it should not be about, and that's one thing that I do in my school. Senior students, you serve the younger ones. That's what leaders serve.
I remember,
they are not over the others.
I remember in those days, any senior, who didn't, step up, we used to have a name for that senior Pangulu.
Yeah, that was a proper. I didn't attend the boarding school.
The name to the hearing of the senior though,
because you will suffer for it.
All right, we have some SMS coming.
Okay,
yes. Let me quickly take this first. This one says, Dr. Tanimu Osu. He said, bullying is a menace which schools are in better place to curtail. However, do parents of nowadays allow schools act promptly? Since most parents challenge schools for disciplining their kids. This is from Dr. Tanimu. Also, this one has no name. He said, my view about bullying is this. Bullying is a serious issue in our schools. Personally, my experience from such menace has put me in social isolation and sometimes anxiety. All right, the next one says, good morning, beautiful ladies and gentlemen in the studio. I'm by name Ayuba Papis from Gombe State. I went to a federal boarding school. My first 2 years in the senior classes were hell. We will be woken up by 4 a.m. and flogged for no reason. Worst days are usually Fridays and Saturdays during hostel labor, because everyone must bag 50 to 60 strokes of cane using the excuse of labor. When I tell my parents about it, what they say is, you are supposed to be beaten in boarding schools. But thank Almighty, I graduated last 2 years, so kudos to the federal government for this policy. Oh my God. This policy would bring back many children back to school, because many parents prefer their children to be home and alive than being brutally bullied in school. Please, if possible, there should be some certain legal penalty on any teacher bullying children. Demola, do you have more?
Yes, okay. I have two here. It's a well done discussant. I appreciate you so much, especially my friend, Dr. Hayab. Well, it is unfortunate that bullying behavior is rampant due to weak leadership in schools. Many schools don't have rules and regulations. Where they have, they are not adhered to. Situation where school manager runs away from students for fear of intimidation. We can see that things are falling apart. This from Dr. Tunde Odekunle from Oyo State. Then this one says, bullying in Nigerian schools today are very rampant. Between teachers who lack schools training, if you see teachers who truly do educational courses in school before becoming class teachers, are quite different from all these PTA employed staff and all these SSC class teachers. The way they will handle kids will be quite different. And that's true. I'd like to employ all the principals, proprietors, and proprietors to at least be given orientation to staff members in their schools. Bullying among students can easily be checked and controlled by the staffs, but bully among the staff by students But bullying among the teachers and students, how do we look into that?
Yes, so there are lots policy, but then, like we said, the school managers, like Mrs. Bankole, she talks about what she does. So when you talk to these teachers, they shouldn't cross their lines. Now, when they cross their lines, there should be a fair hearing. Now, that is one of the problems. There are schools where, particularly teachers of mathematics, when I teach, I tell them a teacher of mathematics is not supposed to carry a cane.
Yeah.
And the reason simply is that the learners are not very comfortable with the subject.
And
then
you're carrying a cane.
You're chasing them away. Now, what they need to do is, because, you see, one of the things we should be talking about, Ma, is that does this beating in any way translate into learning outcome? It doesn't. So anything in a school that does not contribute to learning is not something that we need. So when you beat a child that, okay, I didn't pass 5 over 5, so I have 2 strokes of the cane. Those 2 strokes of the cane will not make me learn the formula. So we should take it out. So teachers like that.
Well, we
Yes,
need to call it
to caution.
Yes, they said we have.
Okay,
We
Claire,
have
maybe you
2 minutes.
Round up this.
Yes, just
no, we don't have 2 minutes.
Okay, we don't have 2 minutes.
No, we don't.
Because I wanted Chief
just
to
sign
respond
off
to
the
the
guest
issue of
of the
the
second.
question. Yes, there was a question about teachers employed by Teachers Association. I don't know if Chief is there. If you can just say a word or two. If not, Chief, please. There was a question. Yes.
Yes, I mean teachers that are not well trained and all that.
Yes. PTA teachers come about because, for instance, if there are no physics teacher, for instance, in that school, and then the government is not sent, normally it's in public schools, and the government didn't bring a physics teacher, the PTA will rally around, contribute and get someone, usually a physics graduate, but not a physics education graduate. I think that is the problem. Because we may not find a physics education graduate, just a physics major graduate. So that is what we do, and that is why we cannot. When we move around, I say, please, we need a physics education graduate, and they gave us a physics major graduate. What do? So that is how we engage that sort of person who is not trained.
All right, Chief Adeolu Ogubanjo, I'm afraid we have to stop it at this point. As you can see, we've just scratched the topic, at the surface. We've not really looked at the content of the policy. It has, like, Dr. Hayab had said, it had a lot of breakdowns, relationships, what definition, clarification of terms, and all of that, responsibilities and punishment. So I'm sure that we'll have a second take on this topic. But for now, let me quickly appreciate Chief Adeolu Ogubanjo, who's the Deputy National President, National Parent-Teacher Association of Nigeria, who joined us via Zoom from Lagos. Thank you very much, Chief, for your insights. And also...
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Let me also thank Mrs. Olushola Bankole, always very spot on. She's the director, Banki's Private School, Abuja. Thank you very much, madam, for being a good ambassador of your school. As always.
Thank
and
you,
please keep following, the framework from Lagos. We shouldn't shy away when others are showing good example. Our friend and NTA in-house analyst, Dr. Philip Hayab, educationist and peace and conflict analyst, Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution, Abuja. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with our second topic.
You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Let's now turn to our attention to the second topic for today. That is Community Health Practitioner Registration Board of Nigeria. Is a statutory regulatory body charged with the responsibility of regulating the training, registration and practice of community health practitioners in Nigeria.
All right, we hear that since its inception, the board has played a very pivotal role in strengthening Nigeria's primary healthcare delivery. I'm sure you are surprised as much as I am to hear that. But we have this morning, of course, key members of this board to speak to the issue, to enlighten us further on the responsibilities and mandate of the community health regulation in Nigeria. Dr. Bashir Idris is the registrar CEO. I don't want to live within Jama'ah.
Yes.
Live within Jama'ah. Thank you. Yes, thank you for coming to my aid.
That's the registrar.
Yes, okay, that's the registrar.
Exactly.
Oh my God, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, we also have Dr. Naomi Baba Bifi, former coordinator, community health officer training program at the Jos University Teaching Hospital, Jos, as well as community health practitioner. It's a pleasure to have you, ma'am. Thank you. Yes.
Then we have Professor Daniel Gimbaso, is the head of Department Community Health Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, Nasarawa State University. You're welcome to the program. Yeah. Now, let's just, can you just give us an overview of...
The comrade, you have not introduced Comrade Kabir.
Oh, okay. All right.
You want Aluta?
I don't have that.
You want Aluta? Okay, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Comrade Kabir Yahya Ahmed is the National President Association of Community Health Practitioners of Nigeria. Hey.
Okay, let's start with...
you don't have a choice.
Let's start with Comrade. So give us an overview of these community health practitioners. What is it all about?
Yes. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, community health practitioners. Let me use this opportunity to thank the President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for deeming it fit to appoint Professor Mambe Patti as the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, as well as the Minister of State, Dr. Salako, for giving them this opportunity to serve this country. And also their desire to ensure that they key into his New Hope agenda, particularly in terms of health, particularly primary health care level. And I also want to thank him for renewing the appointment of the registrar of the board, which was done based on merit. And his physical presence in the board has also been encouraging, not only to the board, but to the practitioners as well. Let me also thank all other partners that have been working with the board, particularly the National University Commission, as well as the National Board for Technical Education, for giving us support as partners in regulating the practice and the training of community health in Nigeria. Community Health Board is a regulatory agency, one of the regulatory boards under the Federal Ministry of Health that regulate the training of community practitioners in this country in terms of training, in terms of discipline, in terms of capacity building, issuance of lessons, conducting national examination, as well as other areas that has to do with service delivery in this country. But I believe the registrar of the board would be in the best position to expatiate, looking that that is his jurisdiction and that is his area of concern as it is now. But as time goes on, I also dwell into the issue where the practitioners now are capitalizing on the input of the board to service delivery in the country.
Okay.
All right, so over to you, registrar. So, yes, just talk to us briefly. We want to understand what the community health practitioners, I mean, what exactly, who do you deal with?
Thank you very much. Equally want to appreciate the President of Nigeria, and we're aligning ourselves with the renewal hope of Mr. President. Actually, he has said it, Community Health Practitioner Registration Board is a MD of the Federal Ministry of Health, categorically they train middleman power that work in the PHC centers and other health settings in Nigeria. When I say middleman power, I'm referring to community health extension worker, junior community health extension worker, community health officers. Now we have commenced the BSc, Bachelor of Science Community Health, and they work in primary healthcare centers. I always said it, part of their activities, they provide preventive, curative, rehabilitative in all the center, meaning all community health workers as key bed attendant, because there is no PSC you go to in Nigeria, you not see community health workers.
Absolutely.
Actually, they work in a place. When you look at the history, memory back of the history, when the implementation of PSC after the Almata Declaration, when it comes to Nigeria, during the era of Professor Ransom Kuti of led memory, we launched the PSC in Nigeria to address the gap in terms of human resources, because not all health facility you can see a doctor, you can see a nurse, you can see a pharmacy. But as a community worker, you have been trained to go to the remote area and render these services. Most especially now, we're facing with the challenge of high rate of infant and maternal death in Nigeria. So you cannot see doctors everywhere. And I always say that in community health, we don't have Jaffa syndrome. We work in Nigeria. And at the beginning of your training, you know, psychologically you have been trained to go to the PS.
You mean your members don't Jaffa?
Don't
Is
Jaffa.
that what you are sure?
There are some few number, but it's negligible number. But they are still, because right from your training, you know, you have to go to the remote area and work, sacrifice all the basic amenities in the urban area. So they are working there. So every primary care set in the idea, and they have the standing order that permit them to prescribe drug to patients. And thank God, Nigeria health policy has domesticated staff shifting policy. So there are certain responsibilities that are shifting to community health workers, because we don't have enough doctors to address this issue at the primary care level. So that is what we have done in terms of receiving delivery, antenatal services, immunization. And I said, our name is community. We work in the community. We serve the community.
Okay.
You talked about antenatal services.
Yes.
And that is very critical. That's why I'd like to bring in Professor Niyomi. You are former coordinator, community health officer training program. How has your responsibilities or your mandate aligned, with the, basic health needs at that level, of the people at that level?
Thank you very much. Community health practitioners are practically trained to take care of one of the activities, which is maternal health care, which is the basic concern in the community. And most of their activities are in the rural and the suburban.
Okay.
These are the very people that can hardly feed 3 times a day. These are the very people that shy away from health centers. But then the community health practitioners are always there in the clinic. At times, most of the times, the members of the community feel free with the community health practitioners, because that is where the work is.
What do they do?
What they do is they take care of mothers before pregnancy, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, during delivery, until she is ready to have another child, in between having family planning. So from the beginning to the end, community health practitioner is in the middle of it all. All. Preventive, promotive, curative, rehabilitative.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's bring in Professor Daniel Gimbason now. Tell us what exactly distinguishes community health practitioners from other health practitioners. Because once I get to the hospital, I don't even know the difference between the two. I just know that somebody is attending to me. Yes. So how do you distinguish?
Thank you very much for the privilege being here and to speak about community health practice. I'll give us a feedback a little bit. Nigerian health system in the 60s was virtually uncurative. So primary health care came out using community health practitioners as a gap that was created in the past. Okay. Because in the Nigerian health system in the 60s was more uncurative. Now that gap in Nigeria at that time, 75% of Nigerian populations were in the rural community or rural setting. So only 25% were receiving healthcare services.
Okay.
And Nigeria has 3 tiers of healthcare system: the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary. So now the difference is coming on community health practitioners who handles the primary aspect.
Okay.
So the primary aspect is, it came as a result of community health practitioners came in as a child of necessity. When the 1978 Alma Ata Declaration was made, and before the declaration, in 1975, Nigeria had started a program on BCHSS, that is Basic Health Services Scheme. It was from 75 to 80. So actual training of community health practitioners to take over in the difference between the services started in 1976.
Okay.
The first school of health started in Ofa, Kwara State. Then seconded by Pangshin, which started in 77. So the training was to bring out these people to cover the gap in the rural setting.
Okay, we need to be able to cover a lot of what you have done. Yes, because there's so much. The community health practitioners probably hold the key to achieving, the health indices, of the SDG goals. And if you know, majority of the SDG goals indices are at the primary healthcare level. So I'm just wondering, maybe I should come back to the registrar and then doctor. I called you Prof earlier on. Maybe you're on your way to becoming a professor. Yes, the registrar.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, if you look at the statistics, maternal health, child health, and all that, how has your services impacting delivery at that level?
So actually, as I was explaining the other time, I said we have 2 key factors that make us to be so effective in the PSC setting: the tax shifting policy and the standing order. Recently, we have review updated our standing order that our practitioners use in the primary healthcare setting to address this issue of maternal duty. Because
standing order
is a national document that facilitates as a legal protection for a standing order to use in the absence of a medical doctor to consult a patient.
Fantastic.
So that is document. Last year, during this administration, with the help of the Honorable Minister, we have reviewed, updated, and even unveiled it. Now it's in use. It's a factor that will improve our services delivery at the primary healthcare level. Secondly, we have designed a program, capacity building for our members. Looking at there are a lot of people that graduated. And in medicine, 1 + 1 cannot give you 2. And there are a lot of changes in medicine. So that's why we need to build the capacity of our members in and out to address the current issue, so that high indices of this maternal death can be addressed. So it's another factor we have been doing.
Traditional birth attendants,
yes.
Are they your members?
They are not.
Okay, they are not.
They work with the community, because we work with them, because in the community, we work with the community, we work with the traditional birth attendant. There are what we call JHU. JHU, they are also part of the trained personnel, and they are more in the community than in the facility. They spend 70% in the community, 30% in the facility. And they are the one that train the TBS to teach them, this is a sign, this is a sign. When a woman having this, quickly refer her to the hospital. And they go to the community. Parabencho, on their visitation, they do what we call community mobilization. In the visitation, they find any cases, they can attend before referring to the client. So sometimes they can even give antenatal, because now we operate PSC under one roof, 24 hours. A woman has the right to come by night. She's come for ANC to address to her. So these are issues we address in reducing this maternal. And when you can look at the indicators, it's coming down. But the only challenge we have, are they being co-opted in the healthcare service in some states? Because we have a lot of PSC centers. The human resources is a challenge. Because some state government, some local government have no provision for what? Recruitment. That's our major challenge. But we have them on ground.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Registrar. Okay, let me come to Comrade now. Tell us about this, your revised, the unveiling of the revised national standing orders.
Well,
you just spoke about it.
Exactly. Maybe there are other areas that we need to hammer, because the issue of standing orders has actually been explained by the registrar. And just as he has said, it is a tool now that our practitioners use to attend to their patients and clients virtually in the health facilities.
Or let's look at how it will address emergencies.
Exactly.
So definitely, if you look at the standing orders now, it covers a lot of areas. And the practitioners are basically trained to look at it as part of the tool they will now use to attend to their clients and patients in the facilities. And it is part of what they have learned during their training as enshrined in their curriculum. And community practitioners today, by virtue of the support given to them by the board, they developed a lot of standard operational procedures and protocols that will assist them professionally to handle cases both outside and within. And if you look at what the standing orders is, it helps them to attend to their clients, particularly in addressing some of these minor elements. And you meet them, using them, and they give them that legal backing and support professionally to give you what it requires as you visit our facilities. So unveiling it, it is a welcome development, because it is a collective effort of professionals, government functionaries, as well as other partners coming in internationally and nationally, meeting with the practitioners to see to it that this cadre of professionals give qualitative service at all levels, not only now at the primary health care level. You see community practitioners serving at the secondary, at the tertiary. It is no longer an issue where they are only trained within the confinement of schools and colleges.
Okay.
Today, you find community health practitioners in the teaching hospitals as well as universities. This shows that they are now ready to attend to major health needs of this country, and they are ready to be partners with all other professionals, to be members of health teams to address the major areas. And just as we are saying, community practitioners, they don't leave the country. We are so passionate about this country. We are determined to work with the government.
It will be good to know why they don't leave the country. But please, let's Dr. Niyomi, can you tell us? I mean, in every profession, you have quacks. How do you handle quacks? Or you don't have quacks?
Definitely, every profession has quacks. But then we are equal to the task.
Okay.
Because we have supervisors, and then we have registration is digital. Yes, you qualify, you are registered, we use a digital system to monitor. Once your license is expired, it indicates.
What qualifies one to be a community health practitioner?
You have to go for the training after the entry qualification required. You go for the training. There is school work, and there is community work, and there is practice. There are 3 areas. And then we have this specific project that is personally ours. We call it community diagnosis.
Okay.
Unlike others, our own, we carry a community and diagnose it as one.
As one. Okay.
Then we shall know what is prevalent. Is it typhoid? Is it malaria? Then we go on to say, okay, what are the causes?
Because of time, let me just ask the last question,
yes.
Professor Daniel. What are some of the challenges that your association faces?
The challenges we are facing is the professional rivalry.
Okay.
And misplacement of community health practitioners in their places of work. Let me give an example.
Okay.
These are the CHIPS. CHIPS program is community influencers program handled by Primary Healthcare Development Agency. And what they do is to go to the community and then visit them, educate them, and trace out cases that could be brought back to the clinic, which virtually is supposed to be done by the junior community health practitioners, the J2. Because as the registrar said, we have 3 cadres in community health. And these are the challenges we have JHU, who spends 80% of his duty in the community and 20% in the clinic. Then the CHU spends 60 in the clinic and 40 in the community. And the CHO spends 80 in the clinic and 20 in the community. Now, this primary health care setting, the challenges is that schools are producing practitioners and governments are not employing them.
Okay, government are not employing them.
That is the challenge we have.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Daniel Gimbanson, Head of Department Community Health, Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, Nasarawa State University. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Also, let me just thank Dr. Naomi Baba Befi, former Coordinator, Community Health Officer, Training Program, Jos University Teaching Hospital, Jos, and Community Health Practitioner. Okay, you have the other details?
Okay.
Let me Comrade Kabil Yahaya Ahmad is the National President, Association of Community Health Practitioners of Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Also, we have Professor, I think the other...
yes.
Dr. Bashir Idris.
Okay, Dr. Bashir Idris, who is the secretary, right?
The registrar.
The registrar.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, I think I've learned one or two things from the, so when next I go to the areas, I'll look out for a community health practitioner. Yes, thank you, madam. Thank you, everybody. Yes.
Yes. For the lesson, now the glass, you can verify my lesson through the QR code. So it's another way we can get quack.
Yeah.
The moment you have your answer, you can use QR code. You can scan it.
We have to go.
Thank you very much.
That's Good Morning Nigeria for today. I am Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak. Bye-bye.
And I'm Ademola Adeoye. Thank you for joining us.